Hello everyone. Today we're going to take a look at the Nokia Lumia 530, specifically the gaming aspect of it. As a recap, the Lumia 530 is one of the latest Windows phones from Nokia / Microsoft Mobile, and it has a 4-inch screen. The biggest thing, or the most important thing for this video, is that it has 512 MB of RAM and a Quad-Core Snapdragon 200 processor. With that little amount of RAM, that usually means that you can't play graphically intensive games. And the reason being, with 512 MB, the operating system, Windows Phone, has to take up a portion of that RAM. What's left over is available for applications. And so the more graphically intense the game, the more RAM that particular game takes up. Whereas a game that doesn't have a whole lot of graphics doesn't need a whole lot of RAM. So the graphically intense games that have lens flares, high resolution textures, multiple level stages, polygons that are almost uncountable, those type of games are usually left out from compatibility. But lately we're seeing that developers are starting to make their games compatible with the 512 MB devices. And in particular, Gameloft has made a few games compatible, for better or worse. For example, the Spider-Man game we have here, Spider-Man Unlimited, has been made compatible for 512 MB devices, and Rival Knights has been made compatible as well, but there's two big differences. The Spider-Man Unlimited game has had a reduction in graphical quality, which makes it run better on the 512 MB devices. So basically the characters have less polygons, they're a little bit more blockier. The textures have lower resolution, so things are a little blurrier, because high resolution textures take more memory. So they have downscaled the game to make it run better, and it actually runs really well on the Lumia 530. On the other hand, Rival Knights really hasn't had much optimization as far as the graphics are concerned. So everything's still in that super high crisp, high resolution that you would find on the 1 or 2 gigabyte devices, such as the Lumia 1520 with 2 gigabytes or the Lumia 920 with 1 gigabyte of RAM. And so it doesn't run well on here at all. It's actually so bad they probably should remove the 512 MB compatibility. But then we have a special case where a new Windows Phone developer, which goes by the name of Vector Unit, has not only made their games available for 512 MB devices, they have brought over something they inherited from the Android ecosystem, which is customizable graphical settings. And why is this important? Well, not only is the game available for 512 MB devices, but it bypasses the nasty issue I was just mentioning with Rival Knights. When you have a game that's available for your phone and it runs, but it doesn't run well. Or with Spider-Man Unlimited, you have a game that's available for your phone and it runs well, but it doesn't look good. And so Vector Unit has made it so that you can go into your options, into settings, and select graphics. In here you can change the resolution of the game, so that way you can run it at a higher or lower resolution and save on your RAM usage. You can also go into the advanced settings, kind of hard for me to do looking through the phone into another phone. And in here you can see the ever important graphical effects. One of the ones that most people love is the first one, lens splash effect. And this is when your craft goes into the water and the water splashes up onto the screen and it has a very realistic effect. This is usually disabled in games due to that taking a lot of not only GPU power but RAM as well, because they have to store those effects in the system RAM when the game is running. So if these effects are disabled, the game takes up less RAM, is less processor intensive, and is usually good for low memory devices. But in this instance, Vector Unit said, hey, if you want to run these effects, go ahead and try them. Be warned, some of them may crash your game, but if you can find a great balance, you can run your game at very high graphical settings as if you had a Lumia 1520 or more capable device. Same thing with high resolution models, high res textures, and so forth, water reflections, normal maps, high res water mesh, scene complexity, and all these different options. So for this game, I found a good balance to make sure my game doesn't crash, which it only crashed once, and I think that's when I had shader complexity and high res textures open or turn on at the same time, because that takes more RAM than my phone is capable of handling. But let's go take a look at what this actually looks like. So I'll go back, and as you can notice, these are actually the same settings that are on the 1520. So on the 1520, I have boost blur enabled, high-res textures, and I have shader complexity to medium. Shadow detail is grayed out on all phones, but if you have this game on your Windows desktop or laptop or tablet, you can turn those effects all the way up. So I'll go back here, and just going to go back again, go to career, and I'll just choose a stage. So normally, if this was the Spider-Man way, most of the textures would be blurry, it would run great, but it would not look this good. And if it was the Rival Knights way, all the effects would be turned on and the game would just look good and run horribly. See, here's a good balance. The water looks great, has the reflections. It honestly looks just like it does on my 1520. There are those splash effects. And this is all on the Lumia 530 running a Snapdragon 200 processor. And it really goes to show that it's really up to the developer to allow you to push your phone to its limits, or to just limit you from the onset by either not making the game available or making it available with less detailed graphics. So I'm not missing really any effects except for one or two things, and this experience is way better than it would have been if the developer would have limited me what I can do from the get-go. And once again, I apologize for the quality of my driving and everything. And so it's my hope that more developers enable you to have the graphical settings in their games, because it would allow you to push these devices to the max. Remember, this is a $49 no contract phone, so by all means, it's about the lowest end device you can buy for Windows Phone. But due to the customization options, I'm able to go in and play games on here just as if I had a $650 no contract phone. It's really up to the developers, and I hope that they start to program their games better and enable us to turn the graphics off and on as we see fit. Because this just looks gorgeous to be on the Lumia 530. It really does. And Vector Unit was so kind to do the same exact thing for their other Windows Phone game that's currently out, which is Beach Buggy Racing. And just to show you that this wasn't some, looking great, not running good, or running great just because it was me with just one craft. But here's the game with other players out here. Same effects. The game still looks great. Real-time water wakes due to the crafts. So excellent performance on the Lumia 530, and if we could only get more developers do the same, the gaming aspect and everything would definitely improve for these devices. And I can see more people buying them and being less afraid to say, hey, if I buy that cheap device, I'm going to miss out on all the games and so forth. This really goes to show that in some instances it could definitely be done. So I'll go ahead and go back to the home screen there. And as you can see, let me zoom out some. Everything is still really snappy here. Close that and go in there. Let me zoom back in. I'm recording this on my Lumia 1020. And this is running 8.1.1, so I have the folder ability. And I'll just briefly go to the menu and show you what it looks like in Vector Unit. With that Vector Unit set up for Beach Buggy Racing. And once again, 512 MB of RAM, developers normally either make the game not available for those devices, so since the game can't fit, they don't try to fit it in the RAM limitations, or when they do make it available, they downscale the graphics so the game takes less RAM and is compatible. Or they somehow make it compatible and they don't downscale the graphics and content, and then you end up with a game that opens but usually either closes right away or runs horribly with a horrible frame rate. And as you can see here on Beach Buggy Racing, the settings are very similar. There's the popular lens splash effects as well. On here I actually have high-res textures on and shader complexity to medium and the boost blur effects on and everything else. And I'll just show you how that runs so you can get a good idea. It really depends on you, since you can customize those effects to however you want it. This seems to be a great fit for this game. I haven't noticed any problems with it. Having a quad-core processor, even a Snapdragon 200, makes a world of difference versus the older dual-core processors. So here we are with all of the effects turned on. All the same effects that I use on my Lumia 1520. The shadows, the normal mapping, the lens splash, the high-res textures. Everything that I would use is on here, on the Lumia 530. And when I see a developer that takes the time to do this kind of stuff, as in take the time to make their games have something special, some value for Windows Phone users, they didn't have to include the customization options for the graphics. They could just say, hey, it's 512 MB of RAM, don't worry about playing these games. You can see there the effects, the water's on the screen. And it looks great, it sounds great, it still plays great. And you can, once again, customize the effects to however you want. But when I'm playing this on my 530, it's just like playing it on my 1520, except for the screen is smaller. And that's the only thing you're missing, which the developer can't do anything about that, is your screen is smaller. And there I go out of bounds. So that was just a quick showcase to show you how a developer can take the time to allow you to maximize the GPU, the graphics processing unit of your device, regardless of the phone that you buy. And once again, this is a $49 no contract phone. You probably find it cheaper than that in the United States. And it's running these games just fantastic with the customization options. So I hope more developers take note and give us the option to run our games on maximum settings, or at least customize it to our needing. Leave me a comment. Do you have any questions? Is there anything you want to see about those games? I'm just glad that we're finally getting those options. I believe Vector Unit is going to release another game in the future for Windows Phone. I think it's called Shine Runner, and I remember seeing that on Android and iOS, and I hope that it has the graphics settings as well. Thank you so much for bearing with me for these 13.5 minutes. I hope you guys saw something that would be useful. Don't be fearful about picking up one of these if you can find them. They're definitely cheap enough. You get the whole Windows Phone experience. You get your folders, you get Cortana or Cortana, depending on who you ask, and you basically get everything you would get on a high-end phone. And so, what is the forecast?
It's currently 52 with showers.
So all of that for $49. Thank you again for watching. Have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you next time.